Well, I am pleased to be joined by Dr. Francis Collins. Good afternoon here. How are you doing?
Doing okay. There are no slow days in my current existence, and today hasn't been either, but I'm glad for the chance to talk with you.
I bet it has not been slow being you at all. Well, hey, I got to ask this question. You're getting ready to retire. And so it's one of those things where did you know that it was time to go? When was that conversation between you and God? When did you know, hey, it's time to get out of here?
Well, it was not just that I had a bad day. This has been coming on for a while.
Yeah.
Basically, I've already served in this role for more than 12 years, which means I've served 3 presidents. No previous NIH director has ever lasted beyond 1 president.
Wow.
So my shelf life was looking a little long here. And I had a couple of times thought maybe it was time to go before, but things were so unsettled with COVID-19. I wanted to at least get us in a place where NIH was solidly in the scientific areas that we need to be. And I think we are now, even though this pandemic is far from over. Our part of it, the research part, is in very strong shape right now. And I thought if I was not going to stay through the entire Biden first term, I need to leave in time for the president to find really highly qualified scientists, get them nominated, get them confirmed by the Senate. We all know that doesn't happen necessarily very quickly, and get them in place before it gets so late in the term that it's hard to do. So this seemed like the right time, but I struggled with it quite a lot. I did a retreat all by myself back at the end of May. A long weekend, just me and my Bible in a beautiful setting out in the country, really praying about it, trying to figure out what is it that God wants me to do now. Do I need to stick this out, or is it time to gracefully step aside? I hope it was graceful, but I did decide to step aside by the end of this year.
And have you decided what you want to do next?
Well, that's not entirely clear. I guess I appreciate your prayers on that too. What's the next calling? I'm going to spend most of my time after I step away in my research lab, because I've been running, believe it or not, a research lab at NIH with about 10 amazing scientists, everything from student trainees to senior scientists, working on trying to come up with better strategies for adult onset diabetes. Goodness knows we need more there. And also working on a rare genetic disease that causes kids to age prematurely at a dramatic rate called progeria. And we're making amazing progress, both of those. And I'm going to enjoy being a little more immersed in that along with my team. But I also want to think about what is maybe the next thing that I should be thinking about doing. What's my next calling? I might do some writing. I have an interest in maybe putting out a new edition of the book I wrote about science and faith called Language of God, which is now 16 years old and could use a little upgrade. Even though people are still buying it, I'd like to give them something that's right on top of the current circumstance.
Gotcha. I'm sure you won't be stuck with what to do next, just knowing you. If that makes sense. Well, hey, let me get to my next question here.
God has been good to me.
He definitely has been good to you. You know, when you first heard the words COVID-19, where were you and what did you think?
Well, I was at NIH in the first day or two of January 2020 and watching closely these reports about something that was happening in Wuhan, China. And it sounded like this could really be the thing we had most been afraid could happen anytime, a true global pandemic, but it wasn't immediately clear. When China basically shut down that entire city of multi-million people, you knew there was something really serious going on about the level of contagiousness of this virus. And so within a few days, by January 10th, working with the experts in our vaccine research center, we started to design a vaccine against this virus, SARS-CoV-2. Didn't want to wait. If this was going to be the thing we needed protection for, maybe it would be a waste of time and it would turn out to fizzle, but it didn't look like that. So since then, I've been pretty much utterly consumed by COVID-19, trying to be sure those vaccines were developed and tested in the most rigorous way, figuring out are there treatments that we could find for this viral illness that would work. And we came up with monoclonal antibodies. They work pretty well. And what about testing? We need better tests than what we had. We got off to a rough start there with
Yeah.
testing. And now there's like millions of tests available every day. So all of that's been NIH, and that's been all hands on deck. And I've been able to bring other collaborators in on this in a way that everybody was motivated, because every day you felt like we can't waste a minute here. We can't make a stupid decision. People's lives are at risk, and they still are. So
Yeah.
it was an amazing, and still is, 100-hour-a-week experience for a lot of us.
How did it test your faith? I've always wanted to ask you that question.
Well, it's a really good question. And of course, I prayed a lot about some deliverance from this terrible pandemic, as you saw the lives it was taking.
Yeah.
And of course, for me as a scientist, I also prayed that maybe part of the answer to that would come through science. And I think from my perspective, the fact these vaccines are both safe and highly effective feels like an answer to prayer. I recognize that not everybody in the faith community feels that way, but it sure seems that way to me as a scientist. I did have to really struggle, though, with why this terrible scourge, so many people could be happening. But, you know, God doesn't promise us freedom from any kind of suffering. And in a scientist perspective, this is kind of what happens when people get a little too close to animals, and somehow this bat virus managed to get into the human species. And I don't know that we should blame God for that. But I also know that God weeps with us as people are suffering from this, and that God promises to be there with us. I did a lot of reading in the Psalms for the last 2 years.
Did you really?
That seems over and over again where I go, oh, yeah. Psalm 46, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Man, we've been in trouble, and I'm glad God is my ever-present help.
Wow. I got to ask you this question. Why do you think evangelicals have been so reluctant, maybe, in coming alongside and getting vaccinated?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I think every person is different in terms of what are the issues that they're struggling with in getting comfortable with the idea of accepting this vaccine. So I don't want to generalize, but I do think believers have been subjected to a lot of misinformation that has created fear. That maybe these were designed and developed too quickly, and maybe they're not really as safe as people say they are. Well, the data says they really are safe. Or maybe there is something else going on here in terms of a conspiracy that these are going to make you infertile. Or maybe they're actually going to give you COVID, which is impossible the way they're designed. Or maybe there's a chip in that syringe that's going to allow Bill Gates or somebody to track you around. That gets pretty out there as an idea, but there are enough things on social media that some people might start to believe that. And so people are not necessarily getting the truth, which is what will set us free. I believe that's John 8:32. And those were Jesus' words, the truth will set you free. And believers need the truth about vaccines, but oftentimes that's not what they're hearing.
You know, can I push you back a little bit here? Is there anything you think you could have done, the government could have done, that could have assured them better by any chance?
We probably underestimated the degree to which this kind of misinformation was going to get in the way of people's ability to really make a decision about what's good for them and what's not. We probably failed to convey to people that this isn't just about you, it's about the people around you, especially the vulnerable people. I mean, if you're not vaccinated and you get this virus, you aren't necessarily going to know it because you often will have no symptoms, at least for the first few days. And yet you could be infecting that person with cancer or that person with a kidney transplant for whom the vaccines don't work because their immune system is knocked back. So it's up to all of us to think not just about ourselves, but about loving our neighbors. And I don't think we did a very good job of conveying that part of it. And it became so overtaken with this sort of political beating of the drum saying, this is about freedom and nobody should tell me what to do. That's my decision. It's my body. Well, it's not that simple. It is about your body, but it's also about the bodies of the people around you who you might potentially be putting at great risk. We didn't do a good job of getting that across. The other thing I wish we had done was to empower pastors early on with the kind of information they need in order to try as trusted messengers to help their congregations sort through what's coming at them. Most pastors didn't feel like they were ready for that. There were some really good groups that organized to do this, one called Faiths for Vaccine. But a lot of pastors, I think, just felt, I'm just not in a good place to bring this up, and it's going to cause dissension because people are already so polarized about this. So I'm just going to not go there.
Yeah.
Yet those might have been the people that could have had the best chance of changing minds.
It's very interesting. I've lost 7 friends and associates because of it, and it's painful. I mean, it
Oh my
really, it
God.
really is. Hey, I want to talk about your faith here in the next couple of questions. How do you, because you've been very vocal about your faith, so how do you deal with issues of your faith while at the same time dealing with issues that may run counterintuitive to your faith, if that makes sense? Like, for example, the fetal tissue research and other research issues. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, though, when you get into the details of a particular issue, it often turns out that the conflict that people would assume must be just insurmountable can, in fact, be put into a place where it makes sense, both as a person of faith who believes in the sanctity of human life and a person of science who's trying to come up with ways that science can save lives. Human fetal tissue is just one of those examples. And this is not an easy conversation for people to have because it's just got that sense to like, oh gosh, you don't want to go there. But recognize, after all, that people are having elective terminations of pregnancy every day, and those materials are being discarded. If it was possible, on a very rare instance, for something that's about to be discarded with full consent after the decision by the mother to be used to develop something that might save somebody's life, I think even God could look at that and go, okay, it's not the thing that I would have wanted to see happening. But as an ethical choice between discarding or using for some benevolent purpose, maybe that's defensible. Now, that will make some people really uneasy. It took me a long time to get to the point of being able to put that forward and feel like I think I can defend that as a believer. But it is possible in those circumstances to get past the initial reaction of, oh, no, to thinking about, okay, ethics deliberations are often not as simple as they first seem. How could we work this through?
And do you use prayer in helping you getting there? Is that a fair question to ask you?
Absolutely. It's a total fair question to ask, and it's absolutely the case when I'm up against one of these difficult situations. I get up every morning at 5 a.m., sometimes 4:30, and I try to get my day started right with prayer and reading some scripture. And especially in one of these dilemmas, that's really where I seek to try to get guidance. If God doesn't audibly speak to me, I always sort of hope that would happen. So far, it hasn't.
Man, yes.
But there's you too, huh?
Yeah. Me too.
But still, there's something about being deeply in prayer about an issue, especially if you sort of tie it into God's word, where sometimes things that were really cloudy start to get more clear. And I count on that. And I'm really grateful when it happens.
Gotcha. Next to last question here. How do you handle your critics?
Well, it would not be a good thing. It would not be a good thing to have a thin skin in this situation. I try to be as generous as I can, follow Jesus' recommendations here about how to deal with people who have treated you badly, and maybe try to understand where they're coming from. Because oftentimes the criticism is based on a misunderstanding or even fear of some sort, and try to sift through that. And sometimes it helps to laugh about it too, because sometimes that's a good way to disarm a circumstance that's getting unpleasant. So humor, whenever I can find some humor, I'll go there and grab it.
Last question. When it comes to conspiracy theories, what should we put on in our minds to navigate through, especially with COVID? What are some theories that we should listen to, and what are some that we should just get rid of?
Well, great question, because that's really a vexing one for a lot of people. First, where is this information coming from? Is this from a peer-reviewed scientific publication, which is all out there where you can find it, which means it's gone through a rigorous process of assessing whether it's true or not? Or is this somebody's Facebook post of something they heard from a friend the day before yesterday, in which case be very skeptical. And you shouldn't say, well, because so many people are saying this, it must be true, because the conspiracies manage to replicate faster than the truth. So you almost have to be more skeptical when so many people are saying something, if it doesn't sound quite right, that it's somehow replicated itself over the internet. And then, find a credible source that you can try something out on. Your doctor, for instance.
Yeah.
It's no accident that 96% of doctors are vaccinated. They have access to the information. They've been able to look at the benefits and risks. They've made the decision that this is what they want for themselves. So if you have a vaccination question, they've sized that up. Now, you can be pretty sure where they're going to come down as far as what the right answer is. But don't you want to know that? Don't be afraid of getting an answer that doesn't happen to quite fit with the social group that you're currently part of. I think that's getting in our way too. We're all sort of attached to these tribal groups, and part of your identity becomes, well, yeah, I don't approve of vaccinations, or I don't see why kids should have to wear a mask in school. And then if somebody brings you some data that says, oh, that might actually save some lives, it's harder to hear it, but it shouldn't be. It's about the truth. This is the little dark part of my concerns right now. It's not little, it's big. We have two epidemics going on right now. One's caused by a virus, and it's killing people. And another is our loss of an anchor to the truth, and that's killing people too.
Yeah.
The people are getting information that is demonstrably false and making decisions that's putting themselves and others at risk, not just of inconvenience, but of losing their lives. And as people of faith, that should alarm us greatly. And if politics and the internet have become stronger influences on what we consider truth than our faith is, we need to do some rebooting.
I agree. Hey, I'm a parent of an 8-year-old girl. Should I be concerned about the vaccination coming out for kids? Can you help me get reassured that it's going to be okay, Dr. Collins?
That's a great question, because obviously we all want to be sure we're not doing anything to put our kids in danger. But of course, COVID is putting them in danger. And it's not that kids shrug this off all the time. All the pediatric ICUs in the country right now are full of kids with COVID. And we've lost more than 500 children who've lost their lives to COVID. So it's not something to shrug off. But you don't want the vaccine to be dangerous. So there again, what's the truth? What's the data? I have not seen the full data set that is going to be discussed next Tuesday in a public meeting by the FDA's advisory committee. And that's where all of that will be out there on about 2,268 5 to 11-year-olds. And we can see what happened when they got this 1/3 dose of the Pfizer vaccine in terms of its effectiveness and any safety concerns. And then there will the next week be another public meeting of the CDC's advisory committee where they'll go over the data. And then a recommendation will get made. And I think you got to trust the experts here. These people who are doing this evaluation, they're not government employees. They're basically experts, mostly from academic institutions who are volunteering their time. And they have nothing to gain here by saying something's good if it's not. They don't work for the companies. If they come through by November 3rd or 4th saying, yes, this is safe and effective, then I think your 8-year-old daughter could benefit from this. And if it was me, I would say, yeah, I think I'm ready.
I appreciate
You got to make that decision yourself. But again, the data's there. It's not like somebody's just telling you, trust me because I said so. It's because we are trying to be as transparent as we can.
It seems there's a strong possibility that the ECO Alliance may have been keeping NIH in the dark about some key viral research related to the spread of COVID-19 globally. Do you think NIH should step up scrutiny of how its funds are spent in the wake of growing concern that the Wuhan lab the Wuhan lab was doing gain of function viral research outside of normal funding parameters?
So lots in that question. EcoHealth is a grantee of ours, and they had a subaward to the Wuhan Institute of Virology that was studying bat viruses. Those viruses are very different than SARS-CoV-2. So this has nothing to do with the onset of COVID-19. It is clear that EcoHealth was sloppy in terms of notifying us about the progress of their research We got a rather late progress report. By the way, we suspended any funding of that particular organization way back more than a year ago.
Okay.
So this is sort of old news, but it's clear that they were not being good stewards of the resources that they had. Again, none of this contributed in any way at all. And anybody who tries to connect those dots is wrong to the origin of COVID-19. That connection is demonstrably false.
No connection at all. Is that what you're saying? That sounds about what you're
No
saying here.
connection at all.
That is where we will end it, Dr. Collins. Got to tell you, I see you as a hero, man, in my mind anyway, just because of all you've done for our country. So thank you.
Thank you. It's great to talk to you.
It's good.
Appreciate the chance to spread these bits of information out there. Thank you for all you're doing to get the truth in front of people. We need more of that.
You got to have a great afternoon, sir. Take care.